Now, the Sustainable Waste Management Act of 2022 is set to transform Kenya's solid waste management problems by requiring plastic waste producers to follow up on their waste from the point of disposal until it is returned to the source as recycled material. The United Nations projects that by 2050, there will be more plastics in the ocean than fish, and the producer says the policy has been touted as a necessary measure to beat plastic pollution in the country. On this World Environment Day, Bridget Sangana reports on the viability of the circular economy in solid waste management.
One may be forgiven for mistaking the devastation below as an aftermath of a massive bombing. But these disturbingly deep gullies are a result of a 5-year-old sand harvesting industry at Rindwa village on the shores of Lake Victoria. An economic activity whose
All right, we apologize for that. That was a report that was filed by a reporter from Kisumu on the issue of sound harvesting, but we do have that report by Bridget Sangana. Let's have a look at it now.
At one time I saw former President Moi, may his soul rest in peace, pass on garbage on the road, and I was like, with all his power, I think he could just have made a phone call, but maybe that was not of interest to him. So
James Wakibia recalls watching the motorcade of the late President Daniel Moi dodge mounds of waste from the Gyoto dump site, mostly plastics that had spilled on the Nakuru-Sigor road. The incident marking the beginning of his decade-long environmental activism, documenting plastic pollution and the harmful effects to the environment, wildlife and people. Gyoto is one of the oldest dumping sites in Nakuru, established more than half a century ago to help Nakuru deal with its solid waste.
I try to document plastic pollution. That is taking pictures of plastic pollution, videos, and then sharing them on the social media for people to see what they are using and its impact in the environment. I also document plastic pollution at rivers.
In 2017, James was part of the Ban Plastics campaign that saw Kenya outlaw single-use plastic carrier bags.
Our streets are much cleaner, the environment is much cleaner, and that is something I am proud of. You know, I think the biggest problem we have is the small clear bag that is the illegal one that is still in the market. So essentially I would say the ban, it's about like 80% successful.
This year, James has dedicated his work to document the waste pickers who earn a living scavenging for recyclable waste here at the dump site.
Coming to the landfill, digging through garbage, you know, to extract plastics are waste pickers. Therefore, they mean a lot because what I do and what they do, you know, in some way connect.
One of the more than 200 waste pickers found here at Gyoto is Amos, who says the zero waste policy now in effect has seen the volumes of plastic waste that can be recycled reduce at the dump site.
It's reducing our earning. I collect pets, I collect also cartons, I collect bones, so many kinds of discoverable materials.
While James hopes that his work with waste pickers will spur action and improve their deplorable working conditions, he warns that the introduction of the non-woven bags could be the beginning of another plastic pandemic for Kenya's environment.
So we essentially replaced plastic with plastics. These non-woven bags are as bad, actually worse than the plastic bags we banned. We need to have a just transition for waste pickers, because what they do here, they're exposed in a lot of chemicals and poisons.
Less than half of the 300 tons of solid waste generated daily here in Nakuru County finds its way to landfills such as this one. This is the Gyoto dump site that is just off the city's vicinity. The plastic that I'm stepping on right now has been left behind by waste pickers since they cannot be recycled.
Within Nakuru's industrial area, this waste recovery site receives between 300 to 450 kilograms of recyclable waste recovered from the dump site and garbage collectors daily. Here, different types of plastics are sorted out before they are shredded and repackaged as raw materials for the production of plastic items. These recycled plastics are cheaper compared with virgin material.
Hizo chupa same zinatengeneza t-shirt za michezo. Ni low density polyethylene Hiyo ni group kama ya buckets, basins, hizo vichungi na thermos. By so doing, tuna reduce hiyo piling ya dumps.
This waste recovery site is an example of the circular economy being promoted by the Sustainable Waste Management Act of 2022 that seeks to convert open dumping sites across the country into landfills and recover most of the solid waste for repurposing. But this law is yet to be operationalized.
Tulikuwa nafikiria by May itakuwa imefanywa kuwa sheria. Most of the products that are usually zimekuwa zikiwa dumped kwa dump site. Sasa zitakuwa zinaletwa kwetu kama recyclers. Tuna sort out and recycle.
In fact, there are 8 regulations. We have the extended producer pay principle, we have e-waste, we have even the deposit bonds.
One of the highlights of the Sustainable Waste Management Act is the extended producer responsibility that compels plastic waste producers to follow up on the waste their products generate in the environment. Section 13 of the Act saying every producer shall bear extended producer responsibility obligations to reduce pollution and environmental impacts of the products they introduce into the Kenyan market and waste arising therefrom, and that every producer shall fulfill their extended producer responsibility obligations individually or collectively in a compliance.
Able to secure 25 acres of land in Kilkil, where we're going to set up the material recovery facility. Meaning, therefore, awareness creation in terms of resource recovery will have to be done, especially at the household levels.
The United Nations Environment Programme has just concluded the second session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee that hopes to deliver a plastic treaty for the world by 2024. Recently, members of the East African Legislative Assembly agreed to support a bill that will see all EAC member states ban single-use plastics in efforts to control plastic pollution. Bridget Ghana, NTV, Nakuru.